Hello and welcome. This is Little Wave, Galit Farrow at Your Stars Within. I want to encourage you to check out my website. There's a new blog post. There is a sign up for the newsletter, and we do have an upcoming purification retreat in April. So check it out. There's a lot going on right now. I want to talk to you about the current and upcoming astrology. I'm sure that you're feeling it. This is probably or at least close to the most difficult month of this year, 2025. So, to everybody who's feeling it and maybe watching this video because you're wondering what's going on, you are absolutely feeling it. We are very intensely in the eclipse season at this point. The lunar eclipse, which is the full moon eclipse, will be on Thursday, Friday, the 13th, 14th, just depending on your time zone. It's right around midnight of Pacific time zone. And this will be at the 23 degree of Virgo. So that's going to really affect anything around that degree for the mutable signs, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. And along with this lunar eclipse, and this is a total lunar eclipse, is that it is in opposition to Saturn. So the sun and Saturn are conjunct and the moon is in opposition because this is a full moon. So how do we understand that? Well, the lunar eclipse, this is a time, the feminine, right? The feminine energy is in its most expressive in a full moon. And so it's pulling things to the surface. It's asking you to feel, it's asking you to sense what is not always visible, or the moon pulls the tides, it pulls up what's under the surface. And the sun is stationed with Saturn, and the sun generally illuminates, but Saturn would be like restrictive or karmic. So this is asking us to wake up. This is a sort of karmic wake-up call. This is saying you need to look, right? This is sort of like a mirror. Here, the karma is sitting with the sun saying you need to look at this, with the moon playing the reflective role. We need to look at the karma that's in front of us. We need to see the qualities of ourselves, our lives, our choices, our countries, our world as it is, not as we want it to be. And so, especially being the moon is in Virgo, the sun and Saturn are in Pisces, this is about taking responsibility. This is about coming out of that delusion, right? Sort of sobering from the delusion. For us personally, this is about dealing with life and its daily details, good health, rhythms, routines, cleanliness. We can't just live in the la land of what we believe when it's not, the work's not being done to bring it into the 3D. So this is essentially a mirror and a wake-up call to see where we're really at and how much work is needed to bring what we want into the 3D and not delude ourselves by thinking that we're there. Then the other part of the eclipse season is the solar eclipse. This is a partial solar eclipse. It happens at the end of the month on March 29th. And this happens at 8 degrees of Aries. Now, to talk about that, we need to talk about the current retrogrades and upcoming retrogrades. We got some retrogrades right in this area. So Venus retrograde at 10 degrees Aries. So this eclipse is at 8 degrees Aries. Venus retrograde at 10 degrees Aries on March the 2nd. So she's already retro. You've been feeling that. Her shadow period was a number of weeks before that date. So that's when she actually went retro. So relationships have, both on the, world scale of relationships and at the personal level of relationships, they are going through a restructuring, reevaluating, reflective. Remember, everything with retrograde is right? Reconsider, reconstruct, redo, reflect. And she'll be in retrograde until April 13th. We'll still have the shadow period as she moves back through those degrees until May 16th. And then we want to recognize that this solar eclipse is very much going to be about relationships because it is very close to the point that Venus retrograded at. We can see this also as the stock market that's not been doing too well, right? All that abundance, all that beauty, all that Venus, right, is suddenly missing. Now, by the time of the eclipse, Venus will have moved backwards through the beginning of Aries back into Pisces, and it's going to go as far back as 24 degrees Pisces. Now, Mercury retrogrades right after this lunar eclipse, right? The first eclipse. So lunar eclipse is on the 13th, 14th, and then Mercury retrograde starts on the 15th, and that's at 9 degrees Aries. So Venus retrograded at 10 degrees Aries on March 2nd. Mercury will retrograde at 9 degrees Aries on March 15th. And then the solar eclipse will be at 8 degrees Aries at March 29th. So we're seeing this cluster, right? The 8, 9, 10 degree Aries. I'm just wanting you to see that. Now, Mercury will go as far back as 26 Pisces on April the 7th and won't be back out of shadow. It goes direct April 7th, but it won't be out of those degrees out of shadow until April 27th. So remember, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's not a good time to go forward. It's a good time for art, reflection, meditation, internal work. And it's also a good time to finish things you've started, but not to start new things. So we can have a more imaginative and intuitive mind. We can tap into different realms differently, but our linear, productive, pushing forward is not as present. The mind is not as clear. So it's not a great time for signing contracts and, making commitments and moving forward. So all of this retrograde that's, happening at that 9 and 10 degrees Aries is then going back, right? 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way 0 Aries, and then 29 Pisces, 28 Pisces, like that. So we have this gate, right? Both of these planets, Mercury and Venus, are going to pass through this gate between Aries and Pisces. And we have the full moon lunar eclipse at 23 Virgo Pisces, and then the solar eclipse, the new moon, at 8 degrees of Aries. So this gate between Aries and Pisces, I want us to think about this for a second. Pisces is the very last sign, right? It's like all the way through, everybody got to pick what they're going to be. And Pisces was like, oh, I get self-sacrifice, martyrdom. So Pisces kind of gets what's left. It's sort of the end of the winter. Now, Pisces was given a gift because of this, right? Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Pisces was given the gift of connection to spirit. So Neptune is the planet of Pisces. And, Pisces tend to sort of wander around. They're not always super clear about what they're doing. And boom, they just bump into where they're supposed to be because they have that natural connection to spirit. Now, Neptune, like Pisces, rules a number of things, spirit as well as music, because music can be used, right, to move us spiritually, and as well as substances. And so you do see a lot of addictions with people with heavy Pisces placements. So we have this gate between the old and the new, the winter and the spring, right? Pisces is sort of that which we can't see. From the house system, it's the 12th house. It's what you're blind to. It's how you go to the divine, often because you've been brought to your knees, right? And so this is sort of the karmic or spiritual, versus Aries is ready to jump into action. It's the seed exploding in the spring, ready to see what it can do. So we sort of have the, shadowy aspect of the karma and what is the underlying spiritual messages and what needs to be understood at a deeper level that's not always obvious. And then also, hey, what can we do right here, right now, the way that we are. And this is very important because Neptune's slow. She's a slow moving gal, and she's been in Pisces for like 14 years. She is moving to Aries. This is a big deal. She's moving to Aries on the very last day of March. And, so she's going to be going between this gate of Pisces and Aries. And so that means all these planets, this Mercury and Venus that retrograded from Aries to Pisces, they retrograde. She's in the last degree of Pisces. She moves to the first degree of Aries, and then they come back and have to meet her in Aries in the new. And so, it's kind of a big deal. And to me, it's sort of a spiritual checkpoint. Have you learned, or are you in delusion? Or do you want to learn? Neptune has a reputation for being murky, rightfully so. And it's often thought of as like the funhouse mirrors. It can be illusion, delusion. It can be very fuzzy. But what makes that fuzzy, what I see there is it's our own self deluding ourselves. So you go through a Neptune transit, and when it's done, you're like, why did I do that? But some part of you is like, I knew. Now, there's definitely a spiritual purpose for it. It's not to say it was wrong. It's just to understand that if you listen to yourself, if you really listen to your true self, you get less of that murkiness. That murkiness, just like Pisces, is partly because you want it there. Maybe life's easier to deal with. Pisces is known for the escapism. That's part of the addiction, part of that 12th house, which can also include dreams and sleep and bedroom pleasures and all these sort of, unconscious, subconscious stuff. So, Venus and Mercury will have to pass her. And I think that some of the question that is asked is, do you have an understanding of spirit? Are you in delusion, or do you have an understanding of spirit? And what is your relationship to each other and to all of life, to Earth, to everything? This is Mercury and Venus. And I think as they pass Neptune, we're moving into a new phase that asks us that question. Sort of, if this was a board game, this is going to be our starting point based on our answer to that question. Now, my good friend and excellent astrologer, Moses Sirigar, who you can check him out at the Cosmic Mirror, pointed out that the last time Neptune was here was April of 1861. And this is the beginning of civil war. So I know that we're getting a lot of that feel. We're feeling the divide of this country. We're feeling, people are really far apart and they're really aggressive with each other. And we're really feeling that energy of civil war. And a lot of the themes are the same. And so, the difference between then and now is that Saturn's going to be joining Neptune. And, how's that going to play out? Some people are pretty concerned about it because Saturn's a pretty heavy hitter. He tends to bring restriction, restraint. He does bring things into the 3D. He is the bearer of karma. He's timing. He's this constant beat of the drum that doesn't let us out of the cause and effect relationship. And so to me, this says that the seeds, the fruition of that time, the next time Neptune went around, because she takes that long to go around. So humans don't experience Neptune making a full circle, but countries, can. And so with Saturn joining her just after she gets there, says that to me that those seeds, those karmic seeds from that previous time, are ready for some fruition. I don't think that we should think there's another civil war. I don't actually think that that's what's going to ensue, but I think that those seeds are coming up, and they're coming up to be resolved, and they're pretty intense as they're coming up. There's no doubt that this is a very strenuous and intense period. And everyone thinks they were on the right side of history if you think about past lives. But the truth is, you really have no idea what your past life was. You think that you're similar because it's often the only thing we can project. But I would say to you, if you went out on the street and you closed your eyes and you pointed your finger, that like whoever that person is, you were like that. That there's so many lives and so much variation that, of course, this life tells you certain things about past lives and what's fruiting. But I think we've had many lives, and we may have not always been on the right side of history. And so, this upheaval that we're seeing is really bringing up a karmic reckoning. And that's happening, at the personal level, depending on where that is in your chart, but it's also happening at the collective level. So just understanding what's happening and the energies that are happening, and that ultimately as things come up, they can come up for healing. So, Aries is not the best, planet for healing. It is opposite Libra, who knows how to get along. But we can, to me, this gate between Pisces and Aries is saying we can take charge of something. We can sculpt this and direct this energy in a positive direction, but we need to understand what's coming up and why it's so intense. You know, a lot of times people say, oh my goodness, so many ugly things about society are rising, but those things have been there. Look at history. There is a lot of horrors in history, and that's clearly a part of the human psyche and nature, and something that happens within the human psyche. It doesn't seem like a good thing, but it seems like a possible thing that does happen. And so understanding and having compassion for beings who are caught in different energies, they may be being caught up from the past. They may be caught in their own hurts and pains that look a lot like anger right now, but really are a seed of pain. And so trying to bring that collective healing and compassion as much as is possible for you. Okay, other things that I just want to comment on right now that's going on. Uranus, Mars, and Jupiter are all now direct. If you remember back in, I don't know, December or something, they were all retrograde. And they're now direct, but they're trekking back through the degrees that they had retroed, right? So if they went 1, 2, 3, and then their retro was 3, 2, 1, they're trekking back, you know, to go, did I say that right? If they went 1, 2, 3, and then they retro back 3, 2, 1, yeah, now they're going forward 1, 2, 3. And then they move to new degrees, 4, 5, 6. So they're going back through that. That's what a shadow period is. So Uranus is going through the 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 degrees of Taurus. Taurus is fixed. So anything in that arena of degrees that are in a fixed sign, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, you are feeling that right now. As he moves forward, this is looking into the summer, so I'm not going to get too into it. But as he goes forward, he finishes the last degrees, 28 and 29 of Taurus, and he moves into the 0 and 1 of Gemini. But that won't be until the summer, but that's coming. So if you have early mutables, you know, end of degree fixed, and then early mutables, Gemini, Sag, Virgo, Pisces, you're going to feel that. And that will be an incoming transit that will last for some time. Mars is moving back through the degrees of Cancer from 17 to the 29, and then he's going to have to move from the 0 to the 6 of Leo. So the 17 to 29 of Cancer is the cardinal sign. So, you know, he's still right there, I think at 18 right now. So he's, you know, trekking his way back. Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, and Aries are your cardinal signs. And then he'll go 0 to 6 of the fixed. So 0 to 6 of Leo, which is where he'll be Leo, Aquarius, and then squaring the Taurus, Scorpio. But along that way, the 0 to 6 is still the shadow because he's coming back through those degrees. At the 3 Leo, he's going to be exactly opposite Pluto at 3 Aquarius. So that's going to be a pretty big deal. You know, and anybody with 3 degree of fixed signs is really going to be feeling that. I didn't write when that was. I think that's in May. All right. So Jupiter is moving from the 11 degrees Gemini, where he went direct. So he went backwards to 11, and now he's going forward. So trekking back through from 11 to 21. And he'll be in new degrees as of May. So April is the last of his shadow period. Then Pluto will go retro in May. But we're not going to think about that. That's going to be a future video. So right now, I'm just trying to give you this part of the story, this part of the lesson. Just this is what you want to digest right now in life. We have these intense eclipses. We have these retrogrades. We have these planets that are finishing up their shadow periods. And so let's just work with that, and then we'll deal with May in May. So I just want to remind you that everything is truly working in all of our favor. That doesn't always make sense in a singular lifetime or from the eyes and perception that we have that have limitations and preferences. But everything in life, it's one. It's indistinguishable. Every atom is connected to every atom. There is nothing different between the atoms that make up your body and the rest of the universe. And from that perspective, everything is resonating the same message inside and out. And it's showing us and teaching us how to heal and how to resolve, how to shift ourselves to a higher consciousness. So with taking an attitude as a student of life, to be a good student of life, we need to have this humility to the intelligence that is greater than ours, the intelligence that is life itself. Recognizing that even when we deal with a difficult karma, it's still cleansing. It's moving an obstacle that we may have had that was like, this consciousness won't proceed forward until this is dealt with. And so truly as a student of life, it's guiding us. And when we seek truth, when we truly in our heart seek truth, life will slowly reveal that truth to us. It will give us opportunities to resolve and to heal and to move forward. So good luck with this work. Good luck with these eclipses and the retrogrades. If you want to look at how this specifically addresses your chart, feel free to reach out to schedule a personal chart reading. Go to the website, yourstarswithin.com, and scroll down to the bottom of the page. Sign up for the newsletter. I don't send stuff out very often, and there's not always offerings going on. So that way you will know when something is coming up. We do have one coming up in April, and there's a recent blog post around consciousness. So I hope this is helpful and supportive to you at this time, and look forward to your comments or hearing from you in the future. Thanks. Bye.